And we're all just sitting there and kind of left in shell shock over the Erik Karlsson trade. Erik with a K, turns out. So Erik Karlsson with two S's. Oh, just spelling this guy's name is complicated. Now, Zach, I wanted to start off with, saying that I was very skeptical about this move, given his recent play of late years. I mean, he had a great deal last year, as far as stats wise, finishing with 101 points, and nobody's done that in quite a while, and that obviously got people excited. But I thought to myself, you know what, the guy's been around for a while, got to be late 30s, early 40s. No, he's only 33 years old, Mr. Karlsson.
Yeah, no, he's one of those guys where, so I've seen him play twice. I saw Toronto play San Jose last year, and I saw him play in Ottawa years and years and years ago. And my first impression of him was like, holy hell, that guy can skate. Like he floats on the ice. Then when I saw him play San Jose against the Leafs, he really drives the puck. The guy, he's a puck mover. He, what Roman Yossi's been touted to be so good at over these last few years, and earned him so much respect. And Norris, at least in namings. Karlsson's better. He is. Now he's had a couple bad years prior to, obviously his 101 point season. Yeah, 4 bad years. But I don't know. Here's the thing. If Dubas gets 2022 Karlsson, great trade. If Dubas gets 2018 Karlsson, he's going to be hating that $10 million hit.
Thing is, though, playing with Sidney Crosby and Malkin kind of help things along, don't they? Makes a lot of people look really good out there.
It's funny because he says, like, I'm so excited to be playing on a contender, and everyone's like, wow, they didn't even make the playoffs last year. But you got Sidney Crosby and Malkin on your team, you're a Stanley Cup contender every year. I'm sorry. So
I got so many questions that are flowing through my mind, so I'm going to try to keep them in order. My first question to you, Zach, is why is Erik Karlsson not a Toronto Maple Leaf today?
So Dubas he said it in his press conference. He said that he was trying to get Karlsson on the Leafs for the playoff run last year. Why isn't he? He is not a Maple Leaf for the same reason that, if I'm being completely honest, I don't necessarily see the reason that he should have been a Pittsburgh Penguin. So you like Karlsson, when you look at the value that he brings to a team, smooth skater, great puck mover, tons of skill on the backhand to drive and play forward, which is, great. But, that's an offensive defenseman, right? Like there's not a position on the ice called an offensive defenseman. There's just a position called defenseman, right? You have a poor man's Erik Karlsson, which it's not such a large jump down in Chris Letang, because I think Chris Letang is fantastic. But he is no Erik Karlsson. So I don't see really a reason to have both of them. And it's the same reason I don't see him being a Maple Leaf. We got Morgan Riley, who up until last year's playoffs, I was not a fan of him, but he was spectacular. Great skating, puck moving, defensive, good at driving play, offensive defenseman. So I really don't think you need more than one, maybe 2 of those on your team. And, I definitely don't think you need 2 of Karlsson's and Letang's caliber. I would have definitely, and I think that's where Brendan Shanahan and Tree Living are going to come in. And it's probably why Shanahan, if anything, nixed the trade to him becoming a Leaf, because I'd rather a 6'5" monster who will just beat the living hell out of whoever's in front of the net. So that to me.
Okay, so next question for you is like this. So this trade was taking a while to make. Everybody knew he was going to Pittsburgh pretty much. Carolina was not going to happen. But the issue was we had to find a third team. Everybody searched around for this third team. Why did the Montreal Canadiens step up and help Dubas and the Penguins in this case? Did it really benefit them?
I think the Habs walked out better than anybody in that trade, if I'm being honest. They got Jeff Petrie back, who, he's a little bit of a putz, but I think he's still a good he's still 6'2", 6'3", strong right-handed defensemen, which are more than hard enough to come by. So if he can keep his mouth shut and play hockey properly, then the Canadiens got him for practically nothing. So
but they did get my boy Casey DeSmith.
They did. DeSmith,
I think he's very underrated as a goaltender. I think he's going to do well there. I think he's gonna do well there.
I agree. I don't know. I was looking at it and I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, why did they have to move to Smith in this trade? Like he's the 1.8 million that they needed for when Jake Gensel comes back. He's a sacrifice of poor cap management. But
is this it boiled down to, if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to analyze this trade because it's a lot of capology involved with this. But essentially, Pittsburgh did not have dollars to be able to take on Karlsson. Now they fit Karlsson into the cap and still have $3 million to play with, if I'm not mistaken.
So they have 6 million right now with Gensel on LTIR. When Gensel comes back, they'll be pretty much even at the cap height. It's another reason I just don't think Pittsburgh is going to be a Stanley Cup contending team, because like their top 6 forwards are great. Their top really even 3 defensemen, because they picked up Graves as well, who I've always been a fan of Ryan Graves when he was on New Jersey as well. And so, their top 3 defensemen are also like very good. Erik Karlsson, the 10 Graves, and even Peterson, however you pronounce his name, is not a bad defenseman. So they're not bad. They're going to be a good team, but their bottom 6, they have Nola Chari, which, we loved him on the Leafs. But that's pretty much it on their bottom end. So we'll see. The one thing Dubas did really well in this trade, which I'll credit him to, is he dumped a lot of underperforming cap. Like Granlund on Pittsburgh didn't do much. Petrie on Pittsburgh didn't do much. Also huge cap hit. So, those 2 are major wins to begin with, in getting rid of those, that useless dollars.
So from the Penguins' point of view, did they get much else with Karlsson? I'm looking at these names: Dylan Hamlak, Ram Pitlick. No. They don't sound very impressive to me.
No, Pitlick is a 4th liner. If he gets 30 or 40 points this next year, I'd say he's probably going to have the season of his life. Otherwise, not really. There's one team I can't remember got a 1st rounder. I think it may have been San Jose, Pittsburgh's 1st rounder or whatever it is.
Correct. They got the 2024 1st rounder.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most value of anyone that was traded aside from Karlsson and Petrie.
We also have Pittsburgh's 2025 2nd rounder and San Jose's 2026 3rd rounder. Ooh. Now, yeah. are the Sharks basically left with a 1st rounder and a pile of beans? Like, yes. In normal sports, back in the day, Zach, before all this cap stuff was around, you used to get value for your star players. You used to get like 2 or 3 top prospects. Now you're basically happy to get them off your salary cap and on your way. So did they really get any value here, or was that salary just such a hindrance for the acquisition of talent?
I think it's one of those things where the guy didn't want to be there, so you kind of have to do right by him. On the same token, a couple high round picks is great. And the fact that they really didn't have to, and like don't forget, we're in an era now where $1 million of cap money is huge, right? So the fact that they didn't really retain much of any cap is also pretty good. It's pretty big for San Jose. So,
I mean, look at Karlsson. Back in the day, he was in Ottawa, Ontario. For all you people in the States and Europe, etc. Ottawa is capital of Canada, but good luck in finding it. It's kind of in between Toronto and Montreal. We get lost, you'll find Ottawa. So Karlsson finds his way to San Jose, signs that big deal. Besides that 101 point season in San Jose, 45, 40, 22, 35 points a year. Yeah. He was not heading in the right direction here. Now, they must feel that he's discovered something as far as what was going wrong with him. They're thinking he's healthy now. He's got everything on track. They must, because otherwise this season is a really big aberration. But man, he was a really solid player all year. Like, we got to give him credit. People were talking about him all year. And for a really bad Sharks team to get that points number, I would say kudos to him. He earned it.
No, absolutely. I think there was the injury problems that plagued him. On top of that, I think moving Brenton Burns out did something for him. I don't know, like looking at that team and watching them play, I think Brent Burns was still your certified number 1, even though Karlsson was on the team, which maybe somebody didn't want to understand or hear or appreciate. But now you got Burns out, he's in Carolina. It's like, it's you or no one, Karlsson. Like you got to drive the bus. So maybe that did something for him too. I don't know. We'll see. Brent
Burns, where was he drafted originally?
Yeah, I know. I think he was drafted to Toronto, no?
Burns, not that I'm aware of, but
or no, he's from Toronto.
Yeah, but I could have sworn it was Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong.
I could look it up right now.
Yeah, look it up while we're talking. But the reason why I tell you is because I know somebody who was very high on Brent Burns. It was Brent Burns' dad. I actually got to meet Brent Burns' dad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I'm like, no way you're Brent Burns' dad. And he showed me his license. He showed me all the pictures on his cell phone. I'm like, okay, I guess you're Brent Burns' dad. And this is before Brent Burns became Brent Burns. Before he became he was always a top prospect, but before he really blossomed.
This is when he was still a left winger.
It was still
Yeah.
Now I would tell you any team would love to have Brent Burns on their team. Like, how good would he look on the Leafs? Come on.
So he's Minnesota and
Minnesota. There you go.
I would have killed when I found out that he was on the move from San Jose. Yeah. I was on Twitter just scrolling, praying to the hockey gods, looking up Leafs trade rumors. God, he is like the perfect defenseman for what the Leafs need.
So now, why is Karlsson not a Hurricane? Simple dollars?
Dollars. The Hurricanes are already cap pressed. They're going to have to get rid of another defenseman soon too.
So if you're going to look in your crystal ball now and say, what kind of season you think Karlsson's going to have in Pittsburgh? You don't know what the injury status is going to be. You don't know how the team's going to perform. But if you're a betting man now, where do you see a season playing out? For that,
I see him around 85 points. I see him plus for the first time in a while, which I think will be really nice for him. Probably playing 75, maybe 74 games. I don't think that they're going to run him ragged. Better to do wear and tear, not to mention, but that to me, I have to put a condition on that. That to me is a condition on Chris Letang, right? Like if Chris Letang can stay healthy and play games, then that's the result. If not, then he's going to drive the bus.
I just got this.
At least on defense, he will. He won't drive the bus entirely.
I feel like looking at Crosby and Malkin across the locker room, I feel like he's going to be very energized and very, very happy with life. I think he's going to beat his 101-point season.
Really?
Yes. I think this will be his last big year, but I think he's going to come out flying. I see good things for Mr. Karlsson this year, and I'm very excited for him. And this was ultimately the best spot for him, I think, as far as if you can go to a quote-unquote contender, play with the big boys. I mean, aside from going to Edmonton, right? But there's a funny thing. There's like another reason why Dubas is in Pittsburgh, for example. There's something about the allure of the Penguins, Lemieux, Jagr, Crosby. There's just a feeling around that town. It's a very special hockey town. And there's just something very special with sitting there with Crosby versus going to Edmonton. And obviously we know what's going on with McDavid and Draisaitl. But Pittsburgh's just a different creature.